Beast Wars is a glorious show that raised the Transformers to heights never before seen. A fantastic show full of drama, humor, character development, and with an edge to it that was not present in most children's shows at the time. Its biggest flaws are outweighed by its greatest strengths, making it enjoyable for both children and adults. Most would even have to admit its superiority over the original cartoon. The original cartoon's flaws are its lack of character development and at times, quite silly writing. That's not a knock against it, just the sad truth of cartoons at the time. They were never really seen as more than commercials with a higher budget. Beast Wars served the purpose of promoting toys, but didn't focus on just that. The creators clearly cared about the show and put in effort to make it more than just an advertisement. What probably helped there be more character development was the limitations of computer animation at the time. The Beast Wars toy line had a lot to offer in terms of different characters, but most did not appear on the show itself. In order to actually produce the show, the cast of characters had to be kept smaller than G1's. This meant that the writers had breathing room to work with the characters they had, rather than focusing on introducing new characters for the sake of promoting the toy line. In fact, Hasbro would often ask certain characters to be introduced or dropped based on popularity. The writers adapted quickly and knew how to take this in stride. Death was actually made a big deal, more so than on other children's programs. The biggest flaw with the show in and of itself is the occasional plot hole. Sometimes things happen simply for the plot to move along without explanation. For example, when did Blackarachnia get psychic powers? If Waspinator and Terrorsaur both have laser eyes, why didn't they use them more often? What was the Vox goal when seeding the Earth with Energon? And why Energon? Of all the myriad of fuels in the universe, why did they choose the one associated with Cybertronians? Where did the shuttlecraft on the Ark come from? Why did Dinobot 2 suddenly gain the original's memories? Especially since his spark was from Rampage, not Dinobot. And the most important one of all, why did Megatron become a dragon?
Because it's cool.
Oh, right, I already answered that one. Well, regardless, the show is still really good. Plenty of great shows have flaws, and it's up to the viewer themselves to decide if those flaws are truly detrimental to the program. And in this case, I don't think they are. The show has enough good in it to make you forget those flaws and enjoy the ride for what it is. Before we move on, though, let me mention that there is a sequel series, Beast Machines. I have seen Beast Machines, and here is my two-word opinion.
It stinks!
Beast Machines is a whole other can of worms, so let's not get into it in any real depth. I only bring it up in regards to its continuation of certain characters and elements from Beast Wars. For now, let's just get into the characters. Optimus Primal is brave, noble, and a capable leader, much like his G1 counterpart. The show does make it very clear, though, that he is not a soldier. He's very pacifistic, often attempting to negotiate with the Predacons, and generally being more willing to bargain. At first. He is also more hesitant in some of his actions, whereas Prime was very rarely ever hesitant. His most notable moment of hesitation was a situation where he had every right to be hesitant, given the nature of the conflict and his duties as leader of the Autobots.
My actions may have cost Earth its future.
You did what you had to do, Prime. What any of us would have done.
Primo quickly grew out of his pacifistic tendencies, especially after his death at the end of Season 1. From then on, he was a straight-up soldier. He could scold those under his command before, but never quite to the extent he did after.
Rhinox worked on that comlink for a month, and he doesn't have the components to build another one. You've cost us an advantage. Don't be an idiot. She may have been made from maximal parts, but she is Predacon to the core.
Upon joining with Prime's Spark, he started to gain some of Prime's personality. He was definitely more of a military commander, and even less willing to put up with Megatron.
We'd have 4 million years to clean you off the walls, Megatron. I might risk it.
By the end of the series, the pacifistic scientist was gone. Optimus Primal was as noble a leader and soldier as Prime ever was.
But the hero would not prevail. Finish the quote, Megatron. Nor would he surrender.
Cheetor is the youngest and most reckless of the Maximals. This is quickly shown in the first episode, where he immediately runs off and attacks Waspinator on sight. There's no doubt that Megatron was going to attack the Maximals, but Cheetor's recklessness only intensified the situation. Cheetor generally viewed Optimus as a father figure, and indeed was always trying to make him proud. He constantly ran off on his own, hoping to prove himself to Optimus. Optimus called him out on this, but there was not much he could actually do to stop him.
Okay, I'll never do that again. Until the next time.
Unlike most Kid Appeal characters though, Cheetor actually had an arc. This was most pronounced in Feral's Scream, where in yet another moment of recklessness, he nearly kills Optimus in an innocent protoform.
You put that protoform at risk, Cheetor.
I was trying to save our circuits!
Even so, we don't trade one life for another.
But it was a blank! Even if Megs is able to fire it up, it's just gonna be a pred.
I can see how that might make sense, but right now, Cheetor, it's innocent.
Upon attempting to get back on Optimus's good side, he ends up going through the process of becoming a Transmetal too. Or as Rat Trap puts it,
Oh, joy, cyber puberty.
that was definitely the case, and signifies how far he's come from where he started. He was never quite as impulsive as he was before, and like Optimus, became a full-on soldier. We can take this even further. Beast Machines continued the arc, and by the end of the show, he was the leader of the Maximals. It's a natural arc, which makes sense given his relationship with Optimus. Almost as if Optimus was training him towards that goal. Cheetor may have made a mistake or two, but he was never down for the count too long, and was always willing to put his life on the line.
I don't think so. In fact, I think it's time to shred some pred.
Rat Trap is, well...
He's an asshole, sir.
Well, okay, that's a bit too harsh. Rat Trap is just a major cynic, especially in the early episodes. His catchphrase says it all.
We're all gonna die. We're all gonna die! We're all gonna die. I know. Shut up, Rat Trap. We're all gonna die.
Rat Trap was the least willing to stick his neck out and often had to be coaxed to get involved in combat. While many could view this as cowardice, especially Dinobot, the truth is, it isn't. Rat Trap just doesn't want to die. And to be fair, he shouldn't have to. The Maximals are not soldiers. They are the crew of an exploration vessel, and the only reason they got involved was because they were the only ship in range. Of course, that doesn't excuse everything he does.
Let's get one thing straight, Rat Trap. I am commander of this group, and when I give an order, I expect it to be obeyed.
Oh, yeah? So I get vaped because you're too chicken to go yourself.
I will not give an order I would not be willing to do myself.
Rat Trap is also prejudiced against Predacons, which is why he has such a hard time accepting Dinobot and later Black Arachnia onto the team. Of course, that doesn't stop him from having a budding camaraderie with Dinobot, but we'll get into that more when we get to Dinobot. Rat Trap, despite receiving the most disdain from his comrades, was actually one of the most competent Maximals, being an expert in espionage and demolition. He was even Optimus's first choice for replacement leader, and took up the mantle for the first 3 episodes of Season 2. By the end of the series, Rat Trap is still a cynic, but he's more willing to stick his neck out for his friends.
My hero.
Oh, get down.
Rhinox is an interesting subversion. A rhino in most contexts would be presented as dumb and brutish, but Rhinox isn't. He's calm, collected, and serves as the Maximal's tech guy.
Thanks anyway, but I'll leave that sort of thing to you. I'd rather just tag along behind and smell the flowers.
He doesn't really undergo an arc, but to be honest, he doesn't need to. He seems at peace with himself and those around him. He very rarely loses his temper, and when he does, you better look out.
Could be.
I'm in a bad mood. Understand?
What's more interesting is how competent he is. This is shown most prominently in Dark Designs, where upon being turned into a Predacon, he nearly takes over and topples the Predacons.
Reprogramming me was the worst mistake you ever made, 'cause now that I'm a Predacon, I'm just a little too crafty for you. Yes, I see this now. It's called irony, sport. I take over, and you head straight for the recycling bin. Yes.
It shows that if he truly set his mind to it, he could make Megatron grovel and end the Beast Wars in a heartbeat. Of course, he would never go to such extremes. Rhinox is like a dog. He's loyal and will be there at your side when you need him. Just don't piss him off.
That hurt.
Tigatron is a hippie. But he's also a robot tiger with a gun, so don't underestimate him. Like Rhinox, he's very much at peace with himself, which actually becomes very useful when the other Maximals revert to their animal personalities.
Remember, do not fight your beast instincts. Let them help your robot forms, both in battle and in peace.
He doesn't have an arc, but he at least provides some interest, especially in the episode Law of the Jungle. Tigatron's defection from the Maximals provides some great moments between him and Dinobot.
Animals hunt to survive.
And what do you think war is about? Maximals, they believe in peace, but Predacons. You do not really know the Predacons.
Peace will never come until someone agrees not to fight.
The Predacons will not allow it. They will destroy you or reprogram you.
His relationship with Airazor is implied from the offset, but doesn't get any real development, especially since the episode where it's confirmed the two are abducted. In the end, Tigatron is neat, but could have used more to him. Not that what we got was all that bad.
You will leave the wild alone!
Airazor does not have much of a personality, and no character-focused episodes, which is rather sad. She had some level of snarkiness to her, but not anywhere near the level of Rat Trap. She had a great first appearance, but not much afterwards. Considering her lack of character, perhaps it would have been better had they actually developed her relationship with Tigatron. Sure, it would be generic to have her personality defined by her romantic interest in another character, but it would have been something. The Japanese version of the show actually did her better. The Japanese dub of Beast Wars ignored the seriousness of the show and instead played it all for comedy. That's asinine, but at least it gave Airazor something by making her a man. Yes, a man. That makes her relationship with Tigatron much more interesting and unique for a kids show. Although, I understand that that may have been a bit too much. No, I can't say that. They should have gone with that. It would have at least given Airazor something.
Airazor, maximize!
Silverbolt is chivalrous and conducts himself in a knightly manner.
Perhaps so, but our leaders charged us to learn the truth, my friend. And Silverbolt, for one, shall prove worthy of his trust.
I just hate it when he does that.
He's extremely corny and hammy in such a manner as to challenge Megatron.
I think my name is Silverbolt. Yes, pure, strong, and fast.
Yes. Excellent.
Silverbolt is an optimist, and consistently sees the best in everyone, which makes it easy to see why he joined with the Predacons in his first episode. He simply didn't know better. Even then, he did question Megatron's orders and felt out of place. Upon learning that the Maximals were not what Megatron told him they were, he quickly changed sides.
Consider that my resignation from the Predacons, Megatron!
His need to see the best in everyone is played up the most in Transmutate, when he goes against the team to preserve the titular Transmutate. The rest of the Maximals simply saw a flawed and possibly dangerous creature. Silverbolt saw a unique life form with as much right to existence as anyone else.
Are we Predacons now? Do we destroy whatever does not fit our definition of perfection?
The ending of that episode provides some of the most somber and profound quotes of the entire series.
It's over. It's gone. We extinguished its spark before we ever saw its true light.
You'd better return to base. Cheetor and I will take care of Rampage.
No. Let him be. For the moment, we are brothers.
His relationship with Blackarachnia is definitely due in part to him seeing the best in her, even when she didn't see it herself. It's sweet in an odd sort of way. Even better is when she temporarily dies. We see a side of Silverbolt we never saw before. A vengeful and extremely violent side, which is at complete odds with his normal demeanor.
Tarantulas. She's gone. And it's all because of you. Silverbolt, maximize! You've twisted your last innocent life, Spider.
It actually fits with the two's dynamic. Blackarachnia's love for Silverbolt brought out the best in her, while his love for her brought out the worst in him. Love makes you crazy indeed.
Oh, I know your heart, and when I look into it, I see no evil, only love.
Sappy as always. What did I ever see in you anyway? Oh yeah, I remember.
Depth Charge is devoted to one thing and one thing only: the destruction of Protoform X.
Good. Then X is mine again.
Wait!
Back off, Primal. He blew it. Just like I told the High Council you would.
This makes him pretty unreliable to the other Maximals, and causes him to constantly isolate himself from others. Though that stems from the fact that Rampage ate his old friends.
You had friends there, as I recall. Tasty ones, too.
He's clearly afraid of making connections with others because of what Rampage did to him. Although the other Maximals try their best to reason with him, he still mostly sticks to himself. And when he does try to help,
We did it! Yeah, let's get this gizmo back to base!
his arc is about getting closer to the other Maximals, but it's not a very long or detailed one. Admittedly, that's just the problem of being late in the game. He does at least get something, which is more than you can say for Airazor. If anything, he does help to show how serious the situation is in the final episodes.
Depth Charge, we've had our differences, but you and I both know that this is bigger than both of us. They're underwater, which means you're our only hope. Warheads armed, full speed to maximum. You have to stop Megatron. At any cost.
Consider it done. Beast mode!
In fact, there's much to interpret about his relationship with Rampage, but we'll talk about that when we get to Rampage himself. Depth Charge may not be on the best of terms with everyone, but he's still a hero, even if he doesn't believe that himself.
Raw Energon right through your twisted spark. Take it! Take it straight to the pit, you sickening piece of slag!
Tigerhawk has no character development, and no character that's worth discussing. Moving on. We will now get to Dinobot, the best character in the show barring Waspinator. Dinobot is a warrior bound by a code of honor, most specifically Bushido. He is the most aggressive of the Maximo team, constantly trying to get them to plan battle strategies and take advantage of any opportunity to take out the Predacons.
This eagerness of yours to scrap Megatron is clouding your judgment.
We are at war, Optimus. War. I think it is your judgment that is clouded.
What strikes me the most about Dinobot is what his character implies about Predacons. Dinobot lives for war and lives for the chance to battle powerful opponents. He always tries to fight on equal grounds with his opponents and views that not doing so is dishonorable. The other Predacons we see are mostly psychopathic monsters who live for the kill rather than the battle that leads to the kill. Dinobot's presence implies that the majority of Predacons are like him. Warriors who simply seek to become better through conflict, similar to one of the key ideas of Nazism. Perpetual war keeps the bloodline strong. The Predacons we follow are renegades and terrorists who simply seek to cause mayhem and destruction with no regards to honor or ethics. It takes a generic evil faction and makes them out to be more than that. The same can be argued for the original Decepticons. They were built to be soldiers and so they acted like soldiers. It's not through any true malice, but just a part of their nature. The ones we follow are always the exception to the rule. In fact, Dinobot takes great pride in his Predacon heritage and was unwilling to be considered a Maximal. This leads to one of the most profound character moments in the series.
You're what I'm afraid of. You're so eager to go home, but your home is not mine. I am Predacon despite our alliance. And when your ship comes to rescue you, my fate will be the same as Megatron's. Perhaps even worse.
We won't let that happen, Dinobot. You're a Maximal now, and we'll see that you're treated as one.
And what makes you think I want to be?
This especially implies that Predacons are second-class citizens, and that the Maximal government is not quite as squeaky clean as it would have you believe. Which is not hard to believe, considering that the facts of the Great War have been sealed away from most Maximals. Also, let's not forget their little experiment, Rampage the Cannibal Crab. Dinobot's mere existence builds the universe around him and gives it more layers than a typical children's show. Dinobot's biggest arcs in the series are learning the nature of destiny and being accepted by the Maximals. He wants to believe that destiny is in his own hands, but the fact that Megatron intends to alter the timeline makes him question that. Sure, he joined with Megatron's crusade, but the fact that he thought that they weren't on Earth probably prevented him from legitimately thinking about it. Upon finding out that Megatron can indeed alter time, he discovers the truth. His fate is his own.
The question that once haunted my being's been answered. The future is not fixed. My choices are my own.
Dinobot joining the Maximals is itself a fluke of sorts. He only joined to be on the winning side and initially tried to take command of them himself. However, Optimus saved him from dying despite the risk to his own life, whereas earlier Megatron had showed a lack of honor in using Scorponok to rid himself of Dinobot. Despite being a Maximal, Optimus was far more honorable than Megatron, and Dinobot began to hold a grudging respect for him. He holds contempt for Maximal beliefs and practices, but still finds himself to have respect for his comrades. Again, it's because the Maximals are far more honorable than any of the Predacons.
You were selfless in putting that shield back online. I ought to have followed your command. I am dishonored. Next time.
His initial animosity with Rat Trap is not a case of true hatred, but of philosophical differences. Dinobot is a proud knight who lives for the fight. Rat Trap would prefer to not have to fight at all. This confounds Dinobot, probably not helped by Rat Trap's prejudice towards Predacons. The two bicker and snark at each other all the time, and eventually it becomes a begrudging friendship.
I won't disgrace his memory with lies. He was a stinking, omnivorous pestilence. Still, in some perverse way, I will miss him.
Dinobot's betrayal of the Maximals is where this arc kicks into full gear. When ordered to kill Rat Trap, Dinobot is already hesitant, but then Rat Trap says something to him.
I always knew you was a stinking prig.
By betraying them, he only proved that he was never worthy of their trust to begin with. He proved Rat Trap right. That's part of the reason that he decides to not go through with it. All those nasty things that Rat Trap has said about him would be true. Even then, nothing is truly mended. He tries to kill himself for failing to uphold his honor, but can't bring himself to do it. The Maximals accepted him before and even trusted him, but now, they didn't know what to think.
Sometimes Optimus trusts too much.
Just what I'd expect from a Predacon.
I'll remember that. Next time you're missing in an Energon storm.
Just think of Rat Trap's words to Dinobot in his final episode.
You know, I used to figure I had you pegged. Oh, yeah, he's a slag-spouting Saurian, but at least you know where he stands. Guess we live and learn.
He's not saying that the Maximals hate him, but that they don't know if they can trust him. His betrayal hurt, to say the least. In death, Dinobot proved that he was always worthy of their trust, and that his friendship with Rat Trap was real. Rat Trap even lets him have the last word.
Like I said, you're just a blasted slag-spouting Saurian, but it's nice to know where you stand. Upwind of you for preference, Herman.
In his final moments, he asks that history make its judgment, and it has. Dinobot is one of the most popular Transformers, being the first ever fan-voted into the Transformers Hall of Fame. He lived a warrior and died a hero. May his spark join with the Matrix, the greatest of Cybertron.
I am a warrior. Let the battle be joined.